There might be some rain coming through. We expect rain soon. Rain is close. The session has been declared wet. No sign of this rain stopping.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the American Sim Racing League, and don't let your eyes deceive you, welcome to the Indy Nxt series presented by Purple Haze Autosports, and what a time to be alive as we've got some single-seater racing. First time ever here in the Asrl. We're going to be having some fun with the Indy Nxt, a car that is, I would say, widely overlooked and needs to come back and be in the forefront. But this is round one of the series where everyone's looking to have a bit of fun and be at the top. Joining me in the box though and pushing all the buttons behind the scenes, Jarvis Coyne. Jarvis, welcome to the NXT and welcome to Road America.
It's going to be an interesting event. For the first round, a classic traditional American racetrack starts us off at round one for a 10-week calendar. Road America, round one, Belle Isle for round two, and so forth and so forth. Look at those tracks. It's going to be a wide variety and an exciting championship to say the least.
With street circuits, your traditional circuits, and ovals put into the mix, drivers really have to think about what they can do. And let's take a look at the formats. It's a 2-lap qualifying, so best try and get as much heat into the tires on your first lap to get the second lap working for you. Unlimited tire sets with 1 fast repair, so if you do ding it, you can repair it just once. Instant limit of 17 before you get a drive through. 24 equals you're out. Time to watch from the sidelines. Fixed setup means that no one has an advantage, and a 65% fuel tank means that life's going to be a bit interesting. 20-minute heat race means that you will see it through to the end, but the 45-minute feature that will happen immediately after the 20 minutes means that you got to plan your pit stops, and if you're going to put a new set of boots on the tires. The special format does make things a little bit more interesting, and also for those single-seater drivers, it gives you a little bit of a taste of what it feels like to finally dive in the pits, which only in the latter series you get to face that one, Jarvis. You only get to see that with your IndyCar, your Formula 1, nothing in the junior categories like your Formula 4s and your NXTs, and even your Superlights having that problem.
Indeed, and let's move to qualifying because drivers have completed their qualifying laps. And should we go through the order while we see our 11 drivers out on track?
Well, with the 11 drivers out on track, it is Brody Gunter, who's looking to stay at the sharp end of the field. Currently the quickest with a 152.2 over Miles Brown with a 153.0. Brian Dees sits with a 153.5 in third place. And fourth place, we got Matthias Escal Morkor hitting in with a 153.599. And that's incredibly close in time, so keep an eye out on Dees and Monkomi, who will be fighting out. Artcart holds on for 5th place with a 154.316. Nati Kumi holds on from Canada. He's with a 154.906. Paul Ellison, a 155.2. Corey Rutherford sits with a 155.6. Joshua Rutherford going and chasing down the family member of a 156.042, trying to pick up the pace. And Tommy Cook holds on with 156.5. Anthony Davis at 158.0. Unfortunately, 2 cars are yet to do a time on the board, and that's Jordan Gerono and Kevin Fletcher are yet to do a time on the board. But with that being said, we're in for an absolute treat. So far, Gunter holds the top of the cards by just about a second, and he's going to have to really think what he can do. The Goldmine Racing team will be looking to push as hard as possible, but I don't think counting out Miles Brown, Brian, and the likes of Mateus and Art is going to be on the cards here. The drivers will have to really think about what they do around the circuit, because you may be fast in qualifying, but try replicate that in the race over and over and over. Consistency is key, drivers, especially around a circuit like this. Road America, lots of rises and falls, lots of changes in camber and old school layout. You've got lots of greenery before you get to the Onco barrier, but let that be said, you got some hard braking zones to deal with as well.
Indeed, and it's going to be quite an exciting event. I mean, there's a few overtaking points on the racetrack, such as Canada Corner being one of the main ones on there, as well as Turn 1 here. I mean, I can't wait to see what we can get in the first sprint or heat race, and then the feature race will be a complete, I would like to say, a completely different story. The extra pit stop definitely adds an element of strategy in there, but not too much. We'll see what happens at the very least.
It's going to be an interesting run to say. I've got to say, I'm looking forward to it.
Yes,
it's the
absolutely.
first time they're going and breaking out into the single-seater side and looking forward to seeing what they can do. The question is, are they going to really stand on the power early on, cold ties, to try and fight their way to the top? And also, when you start looking at the family battle, we've got Corey and Joshua who are going to be fighting out. The Rutherford drivers are going to be charging their way up, both in a team, work in progress racing, now having a chance to be right next to one another to fight out for the top order. And this is where you have to start leaning on your teammates, because it's going to be a solid run for the drivers to just slipstream for the first little while. You're going to have to work with your competition to stay at the sharp end of the field. And ultimately, that is where life is going to be a very, very interesting drive.
So let's move to the grid, shall we?
So as we take a look, we real cheese sign up there. Let's take a look at the grid. Brody Gunter will hold on to first place with Miles Brown in second. Third place is going Brian Dees, and wait for the joke, as Matthias Asrl Economy holds on to fourth. Fifth place, Artcart, chasing down him is Nati Krumi. Paul Ellison, a little bit further back in seventh with Corey Rutherford. Joshua Rutherford will be going and chasing down in ninth position against the Delara of Tommy Cook in all purple. Anthony Davies in 11th, along with Kevin Fletcher holding on to that 12th spot. And Jordan Genru will be rounding out our grid. A couple of drivers haven't been able to put a time on. Jordan and Kevin, unfortunately, haven't been able to put a time on the board, but will be going and keeping a close eye on the field. Jarvis, this is going to be an absolutely solid run for our competitors around a very, very tricky old school circuit. Lots and lots of fun. And it's a circuit not only with vast history in real motorsport, especially with single-seater, but also here in iRacing. 3 times was used for the Road America 500 before it was shipped over to Laguna Seca, and now we get to see the cars in full flight here for our first round of the ASRL Indy Nxt League. Oh, this is going to be great. 14 corners of pure madness where the drivers are going to have to think, what can they do? And it's a 6.5 kilometer layout that you're going to be blasting around the circuit. These cars able to get up to about, I would say, about 300 kilometers now if you're lucky, but you've got to be so careful not to go and park it in the weeds. Utilizing that 6-speed sequential gearbox means that you can really hammer it down the gears, try and slow yourself down, but careful not to lock the diff.
Absolutely. And, well, these cars, they're not easy to drive. Formula cars, high downforce, and you're going to have to... There's a few corners in here that you're going to have to use the mechanical grip of these cars, and I'm thinking about Sector 2 at the moment. But as these drivers make their way, heading down, close towards the carousel, on the formation lap behind the M2 safety car, I can't wait to see how these 13 drivers do at turn 1. Hopefully everyone will go through unscathed.
Well, with the ASRL mainly being in your tin tops and sports cars, this being the first venture into single-seaters, there is a bit of knowledge coming into high downforce cars and cold tires, which the drivers are going to get to utilize. Now, they do have a push to pass as well. They will have 65 seconds of that push to pass that they're able to utilize during this 20-minute run. And you've got to think about very carefully where you're going to use that. Push to pass, hit the button, you get up to 50 to 200 horsepower put through the engine to really give it a chance to get to the front. Perfect if you're trying to fight and hold position. Also, if you're starting to try and make up ground. But if you use it too early on in the race, well, you're going to have to rely on the old combustion motor just to get you across the line, and you will be a sitting duck. Think about having a NOS button right at your fingertip that you can utilize at any stage of this race, but you're only allowed to use it for 65 seconds. You blink, it's gone.
Indeed, and the drivers getting close towards the final corner, in which the M2 will pull into the pits, and we will get ready for the start of this first race in this round.
It's going to be an absolutely great one. Brody looking to try and get a solid start over Miles as our safety car moves off. It's down to the front row. Brody and Miles getting ready to go. Waiting. Lights on, lights on, lights on, lights on. As they come over the crest, they will see the bridge. And Jim will get ready to hold the flag as we green, as we all charge through. And it looks like it is Brody with a phenomenal start. Miles immediately closing off the line, trying to hold the inside. Brian trying to move his way up. The order is going to hold the inside line as they late into turn 1. Side by side as Knight starting to figure out what he can do to move up the order. Ellison as well trying to stay in for the fight. But it's Brody Gunter opening up the gap. Early stages of this race. He wants to try and break away and not get fouled out. He wants to try and stay at the sharp end without getting caught out at any stage of the game. As Brown chasing down D's right, holding on the third, takes a dive down the inside, locks it up, it's contact! Contact between D's, and it looks like it's going to be yet another contact. Unfortunately, that might actually be Mr. Cook himself. No, it isn't Mr. Cook. It is likes of Kumi, who unfortunately landed up with a solid impact as well. Drivers finding out cold tires, not working out. Knight having to try and pick up the pieces of his race. He will feel a bit of damage and now have to try and work his way through it. Not an easy start for some, for others, it is absolutely madness and working in favor. Anthony Davis trying to push a little bit harder to see if he can make up a few positions as well, trying to stay in for the fight. Ultimately, he sees the likes of Jinru just ahead of him and is trying to close up at a rate of knots right now. Not an easy time. Jordan keeping it all together. Does not want to get onto the power too quickly. No one's used a push to pass to try and get the benefit of the doubt here. Everyone's trying to just go that little bit longer in the race, ultimately to see what they can do as a meatball flag kicks up. Rutherford, unfortunately, Joshua in the pits, needing to go and get his car sorted out. And thankfully, that one fast repair is around that you'll be able to utilize. Unfortunately, he's having to utilize it right now. And that's not exactly how you want your race to be kicking things off. Brody Guntos leads out the field with the likes of Matthias holding on to second place. And Art Cott holds on to third. Jarvis, a bit of a crazy start to have. A couple of cars not having an easy drive out there. One car in the pits getting repaired. And we've got a whole heap of racing to come. I mean, Corey Rutherford currently up 4 positions from where he started. Jordan, who is currently in 6th, has gained 7 positions off the start of his race. And we are watching a battle for second place. Matthias and Art, 2 of them going absolutely nose to tail, trying to push each other to the limit. Art just not quite having the straight line to help out there. He did utilize a little bit of the push to pass to try and see if he can get past Matthias, but unfortunately wasn't able to get it done. He's got 58 seconds left in it, while Matthias holds on with 65 seconds.
Indeed, and it's a battle for the podium between these two. I'm sure when, after lap 1, they didn't really expect to be up here. The battle, the contact between D's and the man in second place was, well, ended up in contact, unfortunately, and just first lap chaos. We can get back and see exactly what happened, maybe, but at the moment we see Davies, Fletcher, and Jonelle getting close to one another out on track. Kume also joining in on the fun here.
Jordan Jonelle going and making sure you can just try and open the gap a little bit. It's been really leaning on that push pass to open up just a little bit of room. Anthony Davis has not used any of it, but he's got Kevin Fletcher who's closed up at a rate of knots, just waiting. Knight also trying to close up the distance as fastest lap set by Brody will carry on at 153. Well, Art coming in for a charge up in second place. Did use a little bit of that push to pass to get it done and dusted. And he goes and moves up with the quickest lap time of the race, 153.4. Getting a little bit squirrely out of the corner, having to be very, very careful. These cars do not have traction control. They do not have ABS. And you're going to have to really think about where you're going to apply the throttle to get it done and dusted. Matthias trying to go and give it everything he can and really slows the car up. Gets it nice and settled, focused on a corner exit to try and launch his way to the top. It's always a bit of a caution when you're running in a tow like this. When do you pull the trigger for a pass, or are you going to rather wait it out a little bit more, considering the options of where exactly you want to really get past and get flying around, and also how much you're going to burn the tires off in the early stages.
Indeed. And, well, Arts up into P2, Marco Mini, sorry, up into P3. Also, we saw there's also a move for Brian Dees, who was involved in the first lap collision. There's a move down to turn 1. Brian Dees getting ahead of Rutherford in turn 1. And this is what the move looked like. There's a simple enough turn 1 move to get ahead of the purple Indy Nxt car.
Very, very clean run to get it done. Brian now up into 4th, 1 place down from where he started. Knight trying to go for a charge, and unfortunately a little too quick in the braking zone, and it's multiple contacts. Oh, Knight unfortunately going into the back of one of our cars, and well, it also had Joshua landed up getting his car collected in the process. Miles Brown got caught in that mess. He was driven into the back, and Jordan as well going and getting caught out. So a couple of drivers needing a bit of work. Joshua, second time you'll have to visit the pits, as Jordan Jr. now getting into the pits.
It's all kicking off now because Matthias having an issue as well, crashing. This is what the replay looked like. I think it might have just been a mistake on his own, and that's why he's fallen down several places out of the podium. Brian Dees back up into P3, where he started, as you see the pass there. But yeah, that incident caused by it was Kumi, as Jordan goes into the pits to repair his front wing. a lot of things happening in consecutive times. Very hard to follow exactly what's going on. We can get a replay of exactly what happened with Kumi here, I think. It's right here. So it's just heading down to Canada Corner. I think Kumi just broke way too late for Miles Brown. And yeah, just with contact, Rutherford had nowhere to go in that instant. Trying to stick to the racing line, but seeing the cars contact a little bit later than probably would have hoped.
Yeah, unfortunately, Rutherford landing up, just collecting wheel over wheel, and after just getting some repair work done to his car earlier on in the race, it's just a nightmare case for him. As we keep an eye out, Matthias managing to move up the order. Corey getting a little bit out of shape, and now it's up for the Argentinian driver to move on forward, see what he can do at the moment. It's a stellar run at this time for Brody Gunter, still holding on to lead the race, now managing to open a 4.5 second gap. Brian Dees going and trying to chase down in third place. Art Cart also giving chase at the moment, trying to push as hard as he can. And taking a look at the push to pass, it's Art who's in a little bit of problems here. He's down to 36 seconds left in his push to pass, compared to Brian with 62 seconds. And Brody yet to even touch that button to move on forward. So he's still got a bit to play with, guarding that line. Kevin Fletcher now trying to give a bit of chase against Anthony Davis, the two keeping nose to tail behind them though. Got to be careful. Tommy Cook will be gaining a little bit of time. Tommy has used his push to pass just a little bit to try and catch up to the fighting duo. But Kevin went in the slipstream, looking to go out. He's going to hope to try and out drag. Does rely a little bit on the push to pass to move forward, and gets on through. A quick look into the corner, sinks it a little bit deep, picking up the marbles on the exit. Got to try and scrub that off. The tires now getting nice and dirty, thanks to everyone else dropping a wheel off track. And take a look who clawed his way back into the fight. Tommy Cook is cooking, folks. He's back and hunting down every opportunity, looking to try and get on by as Anthony gets it on the dirt sideways, forces Cook to come off the power, and it's allowed Rutherford to get back at him. So this is going to be a stellar run.
It's side by side through the carousel, and it's around the outside for Tommy Cook to get ahead of Davis. Rutherford, meanwhile, just to let you know, he's on blue flags, so he is a lapped car at the moment. But Cook around the outside of carousel to get ahead of Davies. Does Davies have a problem there? I mean, we saw him lose the rear on the grass heading down through that corner, but it's interesting, isn't it? Davis. Oh no, Fletcher's gone off.
And that's what happens when you sink it in a little too deep. He's taken a bit of a knock to the nose, and we'll be feeling that. So all looking okay for Kevin Fletcher, and this is just unfortunately hard braking zone. Down the gears, turned it in, and unfortunately understeer, lock up, bang, in the wall. Not much you can do. A little bit of damage to the nose will be there, and you will start to feel that understeer creep in with the car as well. Unfortunately, these cars, you've got to be rather gentle. Otherwise, you will land up with a bit of a bite. Knight, however, trying to make his way through. Over a little too fast into the corner, turned in too late, spun the rear out, and that's all she wrote. As it looks like Cook into the pits. Tommy Cook going and getting some repair work done to his car after having an incident out on circuit. Kim Fletcher, however, still on a hard charge. He's trying to catch up to Paul Ellison up ahead, and will be fighting out. This is what happened to Tommy Cook. He was fighting out with Joshua Rutherford a little bit behind him. Oh, just slipped out on the rear. Went out wide, caught the dirt, spat him into the wall. Hard impact, and a tow back to pits.
Yeah, I mean, for Tommy Cook, it was a wonderful move on Davies, but immediately on the next lap, just out of the first corner. I mean, these cars are tricky, and losing the rear on that, I don't blame him, honestly.
Well, if you think about it, they've got low weight in the tanks right now.
Yes.
These cars are naturally incredibly light. So all that weight that you think you have, well, it disappears. If you're thinking of trying to move up forward, I mean, a dry weight, so without any fuel, these cars are only 635 kilograms. dry. So add a bit of fuel, it really does add onto it. That being said, you've got about 450 horsepower to play with underneath your right foot. So 336 kilowatts, excluding when you start using your push to pass as well. So you've nearly got a 1-to-1 ratio of power to weight ratio in these cars. And that's what makes them a little bit more tricky, because when they lighten up, you start to have to deal with a very, very snappy car. Corey, just like his brother, unfortunately, needing a visit into the pits, and will have to get his car sorted out. No nose on the front means it's a very difficult situation to try and drag the car back, see what he can do. So in through the right-hander, runs out a bit wide into the marbles, clips the nose, and busts it up. Not what he wants to have, but that fast repair, thankfully, around that he can just quickly go in, get it fixed, and carry on for the points at this stage of the game. Some tough racing out there, and some major racing needs to be done. Paul Ellison gaining a little bit of time, bit of a snap oversteer on his part, try and keep that car in check. However, they need to see what he can do to fight out just a little bit longer and really carry on. And, well, with that being said, we're talking about these cars having traction or losing out a little bit of traction. Tonight's broadcast brought to you by Zero Traction, as we have got zero traction for Anthony Davis, who loses out, and we do see Joshua into the wall as well. So Joshua landing up with a hard impact, just waiting to rejoin safely, which tip of the hat to the young man to go and wait for the competition to come on by and then rejoin the circuit. So Joshua, thank you very much on that one, and a great skill of track awareness and what you need to do. Back up for an ongoing battle, though. We got Mateus and Brian Dees going and fighting it out. This is going to be a very interesting one, along with Kevin Fletcher having a chance at Anthony Davies.
Davies struggling with the rear. I mean, I think that's twice we've seen on the picture that he's made a mistake on that same corner, and Fletcher rapidly, I mean, catching up to the back of Davies. You can see that interval's climbing down, push to pass maybe, as Davies does defend on the middle, but Kevin Fletcher going even further on the inside and makes it look easy into turn one.
Now, Kevin utilising that push to pass, 50 horsepower underneath his right foot when he hit the button, extra to what he's originally got, so that is just helping out right there, just to move him up. So he's up to 500 horsepower for a brief time that you're on that button, as a, well, meatball flag coming out for Knight, unfortunately into the pits, needing some repair work. Anthony Davies might return the favour at the moment, as Anthony still sits with no push to pass activated as yet, saving it just that little bit of time. Art visiting the dirt, unfortunately not what you want to be doing here at Road America, especially when you're in a very, very solid race and holding on to second place. Anthony Davies, though, closing up, trying to utilize the slipstream to get onto the back of Kyle Fletcher, but he's not, or Kevin Fletcher, and he's not having an easy time out there. Once again, not using that push to pass. He's just waiting it out. A little bit of a snap oversteer coming out of the left-hander, and you can see immediately Kevin going flat on the gas, trying to open it up more and more to get away, and not having the easiest time out there. I think he's a bit worried about Anthony Davies. Now, taking a look at their license class, because this also does lean into it. Because they're running the single-seater license class on iRacing, get an understanding of who actually drives a lot of single-seaters or not. Well, Kevin Fletcher, though, found out what happens when you overuse a little bit of speed and gets it out of shape. Gets it completely wrong, loses out one position. Looks like he's going to lose another one, as gets passed on by Miles Brown. He says, thank you very much, and on the way. So, taking a look, Anthony Davies is a rookie, 2.4 in his I rating, well, in his license. So, still rather new to the world of single-seaters as per iRacing's eyes. And Jordan Gino is sitting with a rookie license as well. Everyone else is C to A class that is fighting up there. Kevin Fletcher, however, now needs to play a little bit of catch-up will have to now start to push a little bit more on the battery power to move his way forward and see what he can do. Miles just ahead of him is also a little bit down on that push to pass. He's utilizing it more defensively now, going and trying to open up a little bit of room as we cut over Mateus on 15 seconds left of that push to pass that he can use to try and catch up to Brian. So solid fights up in the order. Jarvis, not a lot of time for these drivers. They've got to really think outside the box since it's a 2-heat race that they're going to be utilizing. This is a 20-minute one, and next is going to be a 40 minutes. So far, drivers are getting the taste of what happens when you push these cars a little too far. And for those that are still thinking, right, I can use the push to pass, I just got to figure out when to do it. Even Broder Gunsy overtaking back markers has been utilizing it a little bit more, and to try and open up the distance to get away from Art. So he's just burning that battery every so often now just to try and maintain a bit of distance, while Art has to keep an eye out for Brian and the likes of Mateus, who's closing down at a rate of knots.
Indeed, I think these final few laps of racing might be a little bit spicy in the top 4 if Brian Dees can catch back up to Karts. So there's Matthias too, as we see Kuma get a black flag and returns into the pits again. Black flag doesn't really mean, it just means that he has to pit again, I believe, or he has some sort of punishment.
Drive-through penalty
Yes.
for incident limits reached, unfortunately. Not exactly what you want to be going and dealing with, especially in a 20-minute race. But take a look out in the virtual grandstands. There's lots and lots of cheering. One going to the Rutherford team, the work in progress racing, and also to the 222 of Drive Trainer Motorsport. Miles Brown getting a little bit of love out there in the virtual grandstands. Wonderful to have everyone coming and tuning in for the first ever Asrl Indy Nxt racing. And at the moment is turning into a bit of a spicy one. Tez trying to close up the distance to Brian at the moment. Going to have to really push. He's only got 10 seconds left in his push to pass, while Brian is using it to defend himself right now, trying to open up the gap. And it's Mateus who's trying to close up that distance. Also, right behind them, don't count out, Paul Ellison is within a bit of space. So Paul has a chance to go for the pass as well. There's very few moments in racing where you start to guess what you need to do to really get the power underneath you, to really start moving forward, especially with these 2-liter inline 4-cylinder turbocharged cars. It's all about trying to keep it all together. Says, going around one of our back markers, giving a little bit of room there, saying thank you very much, not wanting to go in a little too deep. Brody trying to move forward at the moment, 16.7 seconds. Brody has absolutely checked out of the fight and continues to go and open up that gap more and more, not wanting to hang around. He knows that he's going to keep us all together, and what better way to get an out-and-out win just by maintaining the lead of the race. I mean, this is turning into an absolute fight of note, and our drivers having a ton of fun out there.
So I'm looking at the total time passed in iRacing right now. It's about 20 minutes and 26 seconds. So I don't think our overlay is correct where it says lap 11 hour 40. Surely not, because if I'm correct, then Brody's getting very close to a win right now.
It's going to be finding it
checkered
rather
flag.
easy. There's the checkered. Brody takes the victory. Dominating run, 17.6 seconds ahead of Art Karts, who is currently at the moment fighting it out to try and hold. And Brian just loses the car on the final corner, pushed too hard. Art Karts will take second place for Heat 1, 2 seconds back, and definitely trying to catch his breath. Brian Dees hoping to try and figure out what happened there. Coming across the line, nose to tail, it's Mateus who gets ahead of Paul Ellison. A bit of a push you through to the end, going and making their way through. Rutherford, unfortunately, going and landing up with a penalty as well. Paul Ellison will be finishing up in 5th. And what a drive from his part. Just he's keep it all together ahead of Anthony Davies, Miles Brown, Corey Rutherford, and we got Kevin Fletcher as well. 9th. Jordan, unfortunately, will finish up in 10th position. Jordan Janu, who was an early on retirement. He will just be going to take yellow. Tommy Cook as well, fighting his way through 11th. Joshua Rutherford, unfortunately, finishes up in 12th after spending quite a few times into the pits and not rounding out the field. What a drive down to the wire, and this is only the first heat here today. Got 2 heats to come. 20 minutes, short break, into a 40-minute race. Jarvis, from what you've seen thus far, it's going to be really, really cool to see how the drivers are going to move forward.
Indeed, as I mean, Brody Gunter was utterly dominant in the 20-minute race. 16-second gap to second place is unbelievable. But you also got to remember the first lap incident between D's, and I believe it was Brown into the first heavy braking zone. So, I mean, we saw how close D's, Matthias, and Karts were to each other for P2 to P4 within a second of each other. In fact, D's was catching up to second place in incremental gaps. So I'm looking forward to see if these drivers learn from the previous race now, how they will execute the longer feature race of 40 minutes.
Well, I can tell you that if you're sitting in the cart of Nitty Kume, he's going to be wanting to move forward. A DNF on the cards is definitely not what you want to be having for the first leg of the championship. And our drivers will be sitting thinking, okay, I got to make this work. I've got to really try and fight it out to see where exactly we're going to stay at the sharp end of the field. I mean, it's a difficult car. It's a difficult circuit. Not going to take that away from any of our drivers out there. New category to be put in to have a bit of fun in. And it's absolutely wonderful to see that the Indy Nxt, a very overlooked car since it came out, since it's compared a lot to the likes of the Super Formula Light as a good go-ahead car. This, I would say, being the mini Indy car and as seen as the junior Indy car category, getting an opportunity to be out and showing is absolutely wonderful stuff. It's also a category that died and returned 3 times over the course of its history as well, and gone through various different versions of what its life has been. It's been from a V8, it's been from the early 80s into the 90s, unfortunately faded away, returned in the early 2000s, fell away again, and then returned once again. It's been one that has fallen out of favor a few times, but it's good to see that it's finally getting its chance to stay in for the fight here.
Yeah, indeed. And an Indy Nxt championship with a car and a series with so much history, a troubled history, as you mentioned, as we are currently crossing 50% way of the warm-up, and drivers not wasting any time getting back out on track to get themselves ready for the feature race. I mean, they don't stop, do they?
That's going to be a great one. Now, we got to remember this is a 40-minute race. These cars can take 20 gallons of fuel. Right, so 20 gallons of fuel, and that is quite a bit to work with. But we're only running 65 gallons of fuel in these cars, forcing a pit stop to be a little bit on the shorter side. And really, where lifting and coasting is going to come into play. So if I get my math correct here, and this is me going and putting on my tinfoil hat, bringing out the calculator, might be doing the math teacher a bit of, yay, he learned something during his time. They're going to only have 13 gallons in this tank to really work with. 13 gallons to fight it out for the top running. And I mean, not a lot of fuel to play with, so you're going to have to really think about lifting and coast. For those that are not quite sure what 13 gallons is, 1 gallon is 5 liters. Well, they've got 49.2 liters of fuel in the tank that they'll be able to utilize to move forward. rather than the full tank of 75.7 liters. There we go. I've a little bit of math. I'm sure my maths teacher is now extremely proud of me.
Yep, a bit of a fuel tangent in there, here and there. But yeah, so as you mentioned, the 65% tank requires at least, well, probably going to be one stop. There's not really much worth it going for a two stop. I mean, do we even explore the option at this point? I don't really think so. Do you?
No, you're not going to be looking at a second stop. But the question comes down to if drivers are wanting to take a new set of tires out. That is where it comes into question. Do you want to get a second set of boots out onto the track and really show what you can do? The fixed setups does make things a little bit more interesting. You do have tires to play with. So it's one of those, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Cold tires, is it worth going out on a set of cold tires? I mean, these are always the factors that come into play. And the Indy Nxt, if you are looking to have a bit of fun with the Asrl, join up with the link down below in the description, but also get hold of the car. At the moment, it's utilized on the Ringmeister series. It has its own fixed oval series and road series. There's every reason why you want to get behind the wheels of these cars and go fight it out for the top. But with that being said, we're getting ready to go down to the grid for our next race. And, well, it's going to be a great one. 40 minutes of out-and-out racing, rolling start for our drivers.
Indeed, and it's a reverse grid. So Brody Gunter starts in last place with Art Karts, Brian Dees, and Matthias, who were the top four in the last race. Now it's all flipped over. So Joshua Rutherford starts in first place for the feature race, and Kumi starts in second, although not on the grid just yet.
This is going to be a very, very interesting time. Reverse grid, giving an opportunity to those that have not been at the sharp end of the field before, will now have an opportunity to go and get their fantastic race on and see what they can do. But at the same time, does leave you with a bit of a worry of, can you get out of the corner fast enough and also go and guard the line? There's two ways of approaching this. You can either be cautious, which means you're going to have the field come through you, but if you're too overly cautious, you're going to go and create a monster of a concertina effect behind you that will land up causing a little bit of damage to you and to your competitors. As well as if you're overly aggressive, cold tires, well, you're going to go and visit the roadside here at Road America and go take a look at the kitty litter into turn one. These drivers are now going to be utilizing a couple of different methods to try and warm up their tires. You'll notice a slight movement left to right just to build up a little bit of friction on the tires. They'll also rely a little bit on brake drag, where you just rest your foot on the brake, 1 or 2%, just enough to start generating a bit of heat on the brake disc. That will then go and bleed out into the rim, which then bleeds out into the carcass of the tire. Believe it or not, due to the latest tire models on these cars, it actually does function and work like that. So you can go and implement some of the real world method. The thing is, you don't want to go and, especially in the front, really hard on the anchors, create a problem that just gets worse and worse and worse the further back you are. So you'll see a lot of drivers leaving a fair chunk of room just to allow tires to be warmed up, brakes to be warmed up, a couple of brake drags happening out on circuit, but also not to get their noses crushed at the start. These are very fragile cars. Despite being made out of carbon fiber, they are really strong when it comes to a proper full-on accident, but pieces of aero are not as strong. They do have a bit of flex to them, and having your nose taken out at the start of the race is pretty much a death sentence to go and try and fight it out. So it's going to be an interesting one, but with our drivers getting ready to rock and roll. 40 minutes worth of racing, folks. We saw what 20 minutes can do. Now it's time for 40 plus a pit stop to be added into the place. It's going to be a great one. And Jordan, who's going to start from pit lane, will be scratching his head of what he can do to stay at the sharp end of the field.
Indeed, as they head towards the final corner for the start of this race, it's going to be an interesting affair. A reverse grid. And, well, let's see exactly what happens here. Nice.
They round out the corner,
Yep.
getting themselves sorted out behind the safety car, looking to move on forward. Maximizing points is the game. It's what you want to do. And for the first time out, we're going for a 40-minute race here with the Indy Nxt League, part of the Asrl. And this is gonna be a madness. Asrl coming in, having a ton of fun, and proudly, this entire race proudly brought to you by Zero Traction. A big shout out to them being a part of the show, and wonderful to have them around. But now it comes down to drivers, teams, and spectators to see how this is gonna go. Who's gonna be able to move forward? What is it gonna look like as we get ready to go green? Rounding out last couple of corners, they start to slow up a little bit. Our leaders dictate the pace, and this is where you want to try and bunch the field up, but don't get caught sleeping on the line. You want to just and then stand on the gas to get going, ultimately trying to see who can stay at the sharp end of the field. Side by side as they make their way around, it is going to be Joshua and Will Be Knight to go and fight it out. Who is going to have the run into turn one? That's it. Hoping to move forward. It's going to be a tough one here. Corey Rutherford moving up into third as it's green, green, green. Charging down into turn one. Joshua trying to hold the inside line as it's going to be Kume to try and fight around the outside. Gets it in and, oh, went right up for the gearbox, and that has caused a bit of a problem all the way back. A hard impact at the back of the gearbox of Joshua, then lands up with a just monstrous impact at the back of the field. Quite a few drivers need to pick up the pieces there, and what not to do into turn one. Getting overly excited and landing up, spiking all the way back. Nite not having the easiest time there. Will have a bit of damage onto his car. Might have put a bit of damage onto Joshua's car, but most certainly having the rest of the field not a happy camper as well as they come through. Art managing to move up into third place. And Nite hoping to try and stay in for the run. Holds on to fourth, but slowly but falling down. And I do think we witnessed a mass casualty. We need to start getting hold of, well, get hold of everyone. Yeah. Everyone on the line. There is no way of saying it. It was just a concertina effect that just spiked cars into the air. Nowhere to go. You weren't going to stay alive. I think the only driver... Nope, never mind. He also had to bail out of it. And that was our pit lane starter of Jordan, rocking up and just seeing a mass murder ahead of him. RIP to everyone out in the start. And another moment coming up a little bit. It was Art trying to move on forward. It was the 200 car. Tommy Cook going and making the pass done on Joshua.
Yep,
so
the race
Tommy
lead.
Cook taking over the lead of the race. Joshua drops down to second, but I think he's feeling a little bit of a knock on his gearbox.
Indeed. I mean, what a hectic start. Rutherford now closing up to the back of Cook, heading towards turn one. Front wing to rear wing. No moves into turn one, but expect one very, very soon at the very least. Maybe even turn 2 or 3.
It's a 40-minute race. You got to plan it out here, and Rutherford trying to keep it all together. You got to remember, Joshua Rutherford did not have an easy time in race 1. Actually ending up right at the back for the 20-minute heats. He was involved in quite a few little argy-bargies, and now just trying to keep a little bit of momentum as he's got Art Carts chasing him. But take a look at how many cars in the pits. Paul Ellison, Mateus, Brody Gunter, our previous race winner in the pits. Miles Brown, Anthony Davies, and Brian Dees are all the cars that are in pit lane. Jordan, the only one that's still up and going from them. But as we see the drivers exiting pit lane after serving a little bit of work, I mean, this is going to be a rather interesting fight nonetheless, as Art Carts trying to stay in for the run.
Indeed. Yep, go ahead.
I was going to say, Art at the moment, he's pushing as hard as he can, starting to burn the battery a bit. It's down to 62 seconds with with Kume holding on with 55 seconds. So trying to catch up to Tommy Cook. And they're really starting to feel the pressure if they're going and utilizing the battery this early on. Lap 2, it seems Tommy Cook going and putting a wheel off, but trying to maintain the gap is a little bit of a overly cautious moment, I think.
Yep. And Joshua Rutherford, problems seem to continue, unfortunately, heading down towards Canada Corner. And it's just loss of rear, probably a bit of rear locking and making slight contact with the tyre barrier. Gets away going, so he only loses a couple of positions there. And a bit of time too.
Just needing to try and keep it all together. I think trying to maintain what is the original idea for that. Well, the first initial pit stops is going to be the main game for him. As we take a look at Art trying to catch down Cook at the moment. Having a bit of a tough time out there. Tommy Cook, after taking the lead of the race for the Royal Green and Horn Racing, will have to deal with Arkart trying to close up, looking around, trying to see where he can move on forward. Nose to tail as they hook it through the left-hander, get flat back onto the power. Art trying to see what he can do. At the moment, not having an easy time out there. Will get into the slipstream. The question is he going to use that push to pass, or is he going to just let the slipstream pull him a little bit long? Because every time you hit the push to pass, it is a lot of fun. It is an extra 50 horsepower. But, and I say that with a big but, when you're using 50 horsepower, you're using a little bit more fuel as well. You got 13 gallons that you're playing with at the moment for the first half of the race. You want to try and stretch as far as you can go in this 40-minute race, so it's an easier splash and dash to ultimately move your way to the top. All looking to do relatively 155s at the moment, but with Arkart trying to keep the pressure on to Tommy Cook. Both these drivers know they need to keep rather close. You also got to be so careful for the aero wash that happens. If you're right behind one another, really trying to push as hard as you can, you get into the slipstream, but it also means you lose that airflow over the nose, over the tail. And with these cars that do rely quite heavily on aero downforce, it gets a little bit unsteady. And also, you can get a bit of dirty air as you come across sweeping to the side through a corner, as we see Joshua trying to move up through the order. And will get a very clean pass past Kevin Fletcher. Has a great one there. 5 seconds of his push to pass that was utilized on that lap. Kevin still holding his full lap's worth. Now, the problem is with these cars, if you're slightly ajar and you get pressure on one side versus the other, it actually starts to build up a bit of understeer to the one side that actually does have aero getting pushed onto it. It just affects the balance of the car, and something you've got to be so careful when you're racing in close quarters like this, where Art Carts and Tommy Cook, they're brawling out between one another, having a little bit of a difficult time. Brody Gunter sets the fastest lap time of the race down to 1:52 and is trying to make up time after that solid impact at lap 1, turn 1.
Indeed, and it's going to be a long, grueling race to try to catch back up to this pack. He's 9.6 seconds away from Jean Genot, so he's getting there. A fast repair, one fast repair, remember, and he probably, most likely, definitely used it there when he came into the pits. So remember, long race. We've just got 33 minutes left to go as Art Carts looking to go down the inside. Tommy Cook, no, not on this occasion, but very close to. Oh, Tommy Cook going very wide, kind of wide on the exit. Picking up the gravel slightly. Art Carts around the outside. It's side by side, heading in towards the final corner. Art Carts for the race lead, and Tommy Cook can't do anything about it.
A solid run. Now Art trying to break away, trying to snap that slipstream, as you would see him move right to left, trying to force that slipstream to be broken, but Tommy Cook going and playing for the leader, knows that he needs to hang on as long as possible. Art has utilized his battery to try and get past, but now we'll have to use it to defend, as Nite Kume is right behind in third place out from Canada, and it's going to be a hard charge on his part to try and make up a bit of time. He started out in second, now just trying to see what he can do, and Davies landing up with a mechanical flag. Unfortunately, he will need to go into the pit lane to get a bit of repair work done, and not exactly how he wanted to go on through. This would be a nightmare of a race for him, and I do think this is the second time he would be visiting pit lane, unfortunately, as we do see Nite moving up into second place. Tommy Cook just couldn't quite protect himself there, but Nite down to 32 seconds left on that push to pass that he's trying to utilize, and will be hoping to keep it all together. I do think Anthony Davies, though, might be retiring out that car, that's for certain, depending on what damage is done, because he was previously in for mechanical damage, and he's now getting it once again. So where did it all go wrong? Through the forest on the anchors, throws it in, and just clips the dirt on the outside. Solid impact. Also do see the 84 sitting there, and that's Jordan Jinru, who was unfortunately also turned around on the same corner, needing a bit to try and get himself turned around. Not an easy race out here, not an easy circuit, and first time out for many of these drivers in the cars. Everyone trying to see what they can do to really fight it out towards the sharp end in the field. But at the moment, Art Carts leads out the field, up 11 places from where he started. Let me just say that again. 11 places from where he started. That is just madness to think about.
Yep, he finished in P2 in the sprint, so starting second to last and managing to get through the chaos that was turn 1 on that one unscathed. And it's telling. I mean, he's already leading the race, and P2 and P1 in the feature, what it's looking like so far after about 10 minutes or so. I mean, Art Carts looking very good for taking the lead at the start of this championship.
It's all about keeping it together. Nite trying to go and close up the distance, though. Really trying to lean on, but he's burning that battery more and more, knowing that he's got to close that gap. The question is he using it a little too early on in this race, as we've only gone past 10 minutes and 9 seconds. That would bring us close to the 11-minute mark. We've got a 40-minute race, so the last thing you want to be doing is starting to burn this off. Now, for what you would see generally with most of the Indy Nxt drivers, or even with our IndyCar drivers, is they will wait till midway towards the end of the race to use the push to pass to try and move them forward. With the tires a little bit worn out, you can't really make up the time on the grid, well, in through the corners, so you're going to have to utilize a bit of straight line horsepower to try and move you up through the order. And ultimately, this is where it becomes a little bit of a thinking game, as it's a big run. Nite, unfortunately, going and getting it turned round on the final corner, dropped the wheel onto the dirt, spun round, and now tries to get himself going. Once again, not an easy time out there, picks up the off tracks, and will most certainly go and be knocking his head on that one, taking a little bit of frustration out for getting it wrong. Corey, however, up into 5th place, putting the pressure on Kevin Fletcher, looking to hunt him down.
So it's Corey Rutherford hunting down for 5th place, Fletcher ahead, heading into turn 1. The purple will put Indy Nxt on the BMW inspired livery, I would like to say. Heading into turn 1, Corey makes it look easy.
Easy pass, a push to pass, all working out in his favor. Corey going and fighting his way back up through the field, as Joshua is trying to move up as well. Late on the brakes, trying to see what he can do. Unfortunately, couldn't quite get it done on the outside. He will have to look around for the next one. Diving up towards the inside line, trying to hold it all together. Not going to get the pass done. Waiting that little bit longer. Sits in the toe.
Yeah, so
having to go and fight out and hold his line.
So Nitakumi actually lost that position after he lost that rear at the last corner to Rutherford, the green Indy Nxt car going past him, and Kumi now taking back that podium position away. It's well, Rutherford, it's not done yet for Joshua at all. Heading down through this short right and straight down towards Canada corner. Push to pass maybe for the green Indy Nxt car, as Kumi defends on the inside. No dice for Joshua.
tried to have a look, tried to see if he could move up. Unfortunately, wasn't able to get that done and dusted. Will have to sit and wait once again. But remember, they still have a pit stop that will need to be done during the course of the race, and that is where things can quite easily shake up for a lot of our drivers, thinking what they can do to stay at the sharp end of the field.
Brody Gunter starting to make an impression in towards the top 5. After Fletcher, he's going to have to catch up about 18 seconds to Joshua Rutherford. And then further that, it's about, if we look at the gaps of the leaders, it's about 40 seconds. Brody's got a lot of work to do to try to take the win as he did in the sprint / first race of this round. As Brody Gunter looking for a move around the outside of Fletcher. Fletcher not fighting that particularly hard. Knows that Brody Gunter might be slightly quicker.
Now Brody, his best lap time of 152.3. His last lap time of 153.0. Kevin with a 2:01 on his last lap. Just saying, look, rather hang back a little bit, focus on my race to try and pull me in and see what they can do. At the moment, Brody trying to make up for lost time at the moment, trying to fight out and just not having an easy run, having to really do whatever he can. Joshua further up the road though, losing out a little bit of time, dipping a wheel onto the dirt, and there we go. Black flag, drive-through penalty for Jordan, who dives into the pits, will be serving the drive-through penalty and trying to get himself sorted. This is absolutely painful. Second time he is into the pits. He started from pit lane and now has to go and get himself, and looks like it may actually be a stop-go penalty, possibly for a pit stop infringement coming into play. So stop and hold penalty instead of drive-through is going to really knock things out. That can be up to 40 seconds of a stop and hold before they can even work on the car.
Yes, indeed. And that's going to be even painful for what is already a struggle in the first round in the first race. The second race, not too much better, unfortunately. He was probably expecting a bit better, trying to get off the round 1 on a good start. He's going to have to wait until round 2 to get his first expected result, probably. That's Corey Rutherford at the back of Fletcher.
Well, Corey trying his best, straight lining it. Can he get past? Unfortunately not. Tried to have a look, but couldn't quite get it done. Corey trying to really get on the power, used a little bit of the battery to try and move on forward, but Kevin was able to just maintain a snap oversteer as he comes out of the corner, just getting a little bit unsettled. Had to once again try and find that little bit of room, closing down at a rate or not. Nose to tail, looks towards the inside yet again, backed out of it, just trying to spot his line late on the anchors, trying to see if he can go for the under. Couldn't get it done, but he's definitely trying to fish from a little far back to see if he can get onto the back of Fletcher at the moment in the Volvin colours. And that will be a very great time to look around in your mirrors. And it's a lovely throwback to an old IndyCar livery, the Volvin colours, that was in the early 2000s when it was racing out there. Corey, however, not looking to go and admire the colour scheme. He's on a solid charge to try and move up through the order. Currently in 7th position, 1 place down from where he started. He needs to get back into 6th to be, well, where exactly he started 6th position. And for the work in progress, well, there's a lot of work in progress happening right now as he's trying to find an opportunity to not only climb past Kevin Fletcher, but he also wants to try and get onto Brody Gunter as Fletcher gets it wrong into the wall. Fletcher loses the rear of the car and into the wall. Not what he wanted to have. That immediately had Mateus get past, and Mateus makes a clean run around Corey, but he's into the dirt.
Not a clean.
Not a rally cross car, and he's lost it. Oh, final corner, loses it, kills off the tires, burnout all the way through, and now that just promotes Miles Brown, Paul Ellison, also going up through the order. And Mateus, who had such a brilliant run, unfortunately going to be kicking himself on that one.
Yeah, not easy on the grass and tried to control it to the best he possibly could. It's just unfortunate how it turned out. It was an opportunistic move around the outside of the final corner, but braking markers, and probably didn't expect to see. Oh dear. But that was quite the event to see. Wow.
Drivers trying to pick up the pace. Brody Gunter being one of those drivers that really wants to pick up the pace. He took the victory in Heat 1, fell down in Heat 2 thanks to the crash. He's got no fast repair to utilize, but he's onto the back of Joshua, trying to see if he can really lean on him, see if he can try and get past, and just through the long right-hander, keeps it all together. Now they make their way through the forest. A very tricky line where you've absolutely got to keep it pinned to try and make your way through. Does lean on the battery though, gets that push to pass to work in his favor, dives on the racing line, gets the pass done. Joshua had nothing to do to try and defend. He rather moved to one side, but it also forced Brody to get onto the push to pass and use it a bit more. Murakami going and landing up with the meatball flag and needing a bit of work in the pits as well. That's not going to work out for him. A hard impact into the wall as he clipped the right-hand side dirt, spun out, knocked rear, and that, unfortunately, is going to be a very long repair as he utilized his fast repair a little bit earlier.
Yes, indeed, and Marco Mini, it starts off with that incident that he had at the exit of the last corner, and losing the rear once again, pulled back into the pits. It's unfortunate, but now Gunter sees that he's got 6.9 seconds to Kumi, but to the leader, let's calculate this, 30 seconds, 2 karts. Is it possible to get up into the race lead? Definitely the podium if I was a betting man, but I'm not too sure. We'll see exactly what happens. We're currently halfway through this race.
It's going to be an interesting one. He's going to have to keep consistent in the 152s to get it done and dusted. And that not leaning on to the fact that he's yet to go and he's done a pit stop early on in the race. So might have enough fuel to get him through towards the end. But nonetheless, it's going to be a bit of a hard one as we got Fletcher landing up with the meatball flag. Kevin Fletcher going and getting a bit of suspension damage to his car. He will need to get that repaired. Let's quickly take a look at what happened to Kevin Fletcher as he was navigating his way around. He did have one of the Rutherfords onto the back of him. Oh, just outbrake, locked in, and impact into the wall. Front suspension damage. That is going to be quite a costly one. As Nete Kume managing to come on by in third. And he's just ticking on the laps right now. Top 3 are yet to go into the pits. And top 3 will be considering their options right now. Art leads out. Tommy in second. Nete holds on to third place, trying to keep it all together. And our drivers really trying to think what they can do to stay for the run. As it's through the Marine sweep. Turn 5 and turn 6 before heading into turn 7 for Art as he goes down, hurry downs all the way into turn 8. And oh, Corey getting it out of shape. Does get it back out on circuit, but not having the easier time out there. Corey just having the rear starting to step out a little bit and just goes. The moment you apply too much pressure onto the back, was hoping for the tires to grab. And unfortunately, it had a different idea. Now it's allowed Brian Dees to come chasing down after him.
Yes, indeed. And Brian Dees probably going to be around to forget. I mean, he's been relatively very quick in the constantly top 5 in pace alone, but incidents here and there in the first race and in the second race have dropped him down the order. Now he's under a second away from Corey. What can he do? Corey maybe losing a bit of confidence after that spin at the exit of the carousel, and we'll see exactly what happens here.
Going to really have to close up some time and just battle out to stay at the short. So, Jarvis, as the race continues on,
Yes. Hello? I think there might be something going on with Discord. As Brian Dees goes up into towards 8th place to get ahead of Rutherford. Something's happened to Discord there, unfortunately. Sorry to let you guys know. But several cars pitting. Kumig, Thomas Cook, Ellison all into the pits. As Karts comes out in P2 behind Gunter. Gunter pitting on lap 1. He'll have to pit again. The fuel tank limit of 65% is not going to be enough to complete the race, pitting from lap 1. So expect to see a pit stop very, very soon for Gunter. I will drop him out of the race lead. Karts will inherit it. Miles Brown also maybe needing to pit sometime soon as well.
So our drivers having to really think outside the box here, aren't getting the best of the run. Will be more than happy to see that he can move on forward. Gunter back into the lead, somewhere that he's quite familiar with, and will be continuing to try and go that little bit further. The question is, when he had to forcibly do his pit stop, did it fill up his tank that he's able to see it through to the end?
Yeah. I mean, from lap 1, 65%, is it really enough? I mean, to get to the... That means you would have around 37 minutes at the end of lap 1, coming into the pits, pitting to the fuel tank. He continues on this lap with about 15 minutes left to go.
I think when he pulled into the pits after the repair work, they filled up his tank.
Yes.
Got that 20 litres in, now needing to fight through. Art, on the other hand, had to put in a little bit later. So the overcut versus the undercut, you would say, coming into play. And Gunter is still running 2.5 seconds faster than Art is really starting to show. Miles Brown also trying to make up the time in 3rd place. His last lap time was his personal best, 153.3, trying to run further up. Tommy Cook sitting a little bit further down the order, trying to find it out. As we see Brian Dees going and really throwing. The question is it going to be macadamias or is it going to be pecans, as he looks to try and get the pass done on Paul Ellison, and hoping to get a little bit of cashews here as well. There we go. That's my nut jokes out of it. I had to do it.
Really? Goodness. Anyway, yeah, Brian Dees at the back of Edison for P7. The fight for P7 almost feels inevitable, you may say. Push to pass at his disposal, coming up the hill, down towards turn 1, across the start-finish straight. Will he go for the move here or wait? Nope, he's going for it. Heading into turn 1, it's going to be side by side. And Brian Dees promoting himself up into P7.
A stellar pass, and now continuing on a hard, trying his utmost best to stay towards the sharp end of the field, and gotta be so aware that he's got to keep this in check. It's all about maximizing the points, and especially right here for the first round of the ASRL Indy Nxt League. It's time for the drivers to really do what they can. Brody into the pit, so he did not get a full tank on that first pit stop that he had to do with damage. He is now getting his car sorted, driving down, trundling down pit lane, will be coming into the box shortly. I highly doubt he's got to drive through. Yep, there we go. As a lead retaken by Art Karts, who now leads out the race once again and continues to open up that little bit of room. Miles Brown coming into the pits to get his car sorted, and we'll be seeing Tommy Cook come flying on by. Tommy, who pitted a little bit earlier, will be more than happy to go that little bit longer in this race. As time runs out, 27 minutes completed so far of this 40-minute race.
Yep, Gunter getting ahead of Thomas Cook, so immediately, due to this strategy, now Gunter is in a comfortable P2, 21 seconds, with 12 minutes left to go of this race. I mean, the gap is quite surmountable. He's going at least 1.7 seconds per lap on karts. I don't know if that's possible, but he is in the comfortable P2. Never say never. Drivers can make mistakes sometimes. So let's see exactly what happens as several other drivers come into the pits, just as Brian Dees.
It's all about carrying the momentum and where you're gonna go. It's always a tough one to go that little bit further, as our drivers now trying to figure out what they can do for the first round. Lots of homework to be done once they leave the circuit before round 2. That is for certain, but at the top of the charts, Art Karts, after having a nightmare in Heat 1, it's worked out in his favor come Heat 2. Brody Gunter still holds on to the fastest lap of the race and will be trying to stretch it out away from Tommy Cook in third. Nitin Kume holds on for fourth. Joshua Rutherford holds in for fifth. Miles Brown, Paul Ellison, Corey Rutherford a little bit further down. 8th, Brian Dees in the pits trying to get himself quartered. Mateus Esqual going and chasing down the Argentinian driver, doing what he can, currently exactly where he started out. And this is unfortunately an incident for Kume.
Yep, Kume at kind of the corner. We've seen several drivers end up here stationary as Kume just makes a slight mistake and losing the rear. Manages to get stopped before hitting a barrier. He did say that karts had a, well, quote-unquote nightmare race in Heat 1, but the fact is that he finished in P2, so I wouldn't call it really a nightmare. So, I mean, gaining 11 places. Gunter also gaining 11 places as they both started second to last and last respectively due to the reverse grids. It's been, apart from everything, Gunter's made a decent, very good recovery drive, and he's allowed himself to be 20 seconds away from P2 with an additional pit stop, for context.
Well, considering that Art was fighting out for the lead in Heat 1, and if it wasn't for a little bit of traffic, a little bit of off tracks, it would have cost him. As Miles, under some serious pressure, trying to move up through the order, does see the 64 of Rutherford, gets it done and dusted under braking, and now sets his sight on Nite ahead of him. Nite, not an easy driver to get round as they fight out for 4th, 5th, and 6th position. Joshua going to be hoping to keep on the back of this train, but also keep an eye on the drivers as they will start to burn the battery a little bit more, trying to fight out for that final 4.
Indeed, and Brown just came into the pits a little bit earlier. Nitakume, his tyres a little bit short after that spin, and he's getting himself caught up at the front of Miles Brown. Brown in the blue Indy Nxt car, moving to the inside, heading down towards Canada Water, and looking for a move. He's going to brake later. Kume brakes later, but is it going to be enough to be stopped? Ooh, wow. I was not expecting that. Kume continues on ahead of Brown.
Miles Brown just not having an easy time out there, waiting for his opportunity. Ultimately, it's going to be a tough one just to give it a hard push down to the wire. Sits in the slipstream, pulling himself along. Can he go and give it everything he can? Side by side, drag race down the straight. And it looks like Miles is just managing to get the nose ahead. The question is, who's going to be the last of the late breakers? Heading into turn 1, he tries to close off the middle of the circuit, gets it done. And Miles managing just to move up into 4th. But don't count out Nita, going to be right on the back of him. And Joshua biding his time.
Indeed. It's an incredibly close affair. I mean, this is for 4th place on the road here. So it's no wonder that these drivers are fighting hard for this particular spot. Other than these two and Joshua, they're in no man's land. It's the free car battle. Kume goes for a dive down the inside, taking an opportunistic dive. Rowland's got to go a little bit wide to allow the space on the inside. Still stays ahead. Wasn't expecting that from Kume at all. Kume is really pushing this car forwards. Trying to.
Well, a problem that's come in for Nite, he's only got 4 seconds left of push to pass, where compared to Miles Brown, he's got 14 seconds to deal with. Esqual, unfortunately, getting a black flag penalty, will need to serve that as a drive through. And that's for incident limits reached. So putting a wheel off track would go and pick that one up. There is the slide. Oh, big impact into the wall. So it was a 4X that would have happened. And unfortunately, major repair work to the car as well. It's not ideal circumstances in for him. Now, interesting, Joshua Rutherford, who holds on just at the back of Nete right now, has still got 60 seconds to use on his push to pass. So he's actually got quite a full battery. They start out with 65 seconds. Now he's got 60. He's only used 5 seconds in this race. He can really lean on the button if he wants to close up the gap. Nete, unfortunately, he's only got 4 seconds in to play with, and that's going to cost him miles down to 12 as he's been using it to try and protect himself from the fight. So we have got drivers really trying to think outside of the box here of what they can do to stay in for the top running of the order. And I mean, this is turning into a race and a half for our drivers, having to really think outside the box, having to really wonder what they can do to stay in for the charge.
Indeed, and well, if the numbers are true, then that means that Joshua has about almost 12 times the amount of push to pass than Kume. Unbelievable. It's whether that Joshua can use it to fully catch up to the back of Kume. He's currently 2.7 seconds. Watch that gap go down.
That's a bit of work being done. Kevin Fletcher, unfortunately, in the pits. As you can see, we've got 3 retirements. Heading on to our 4th one would be the likes of Matthias, our Argentinian driver, out of the running. But Art Carts leads the grid. Brody Gunter in 2nd. Tommy Cook in 3rd. Miles Brown, Kume holds on for 5th. 6th place, Joshua Rutherford, along with Paul Ellison. Corey Rutherford holds on to 8th. 9th is Brian Dees, who is last of our runners at the moment.
No particular fights going on with about 4.5 minutes left to go of this race. Carts versus Gunter. It was 21 seconds, now it's 17 seconds. The gap just a bit too big for Gunter to make up time to Carts. You can tell that Brody, it's a fastest lap currently, and he's setting even more consistent fastest lap, trying to push forward as much as he possibly can. 16.7 seconds now, as last mentioned. So what could have been for Brody Gunter? Art Carts taking a very good opportunity at the start of this race to take this race win. It's almost like roles are reversed between P1 and P2 if you take it how it is at the moment.
Art trying his absolute damnedest to stay in for it. Still got a lot in the push to pass if he needs to do it. Tommy Cook actually used his push to pass a little bit earlier on just to try and open up and close up the gap to Brody. However, with not much time left in the race, everyone trying to just take an easier drive here, trying to just see it through to the end. There's lots to learn about these cars, considering it's the first season with the Indy Nxts right here for the ASRL, and our drivers getting used to the Formula category versus the usual sports cars and tin top racing that they get to have a bit of fun with. It's wonderful to see them bridging out into the world of single-seater racing and see what they can do, but also teams trying to keep a very close eye on how they can move up through the order. It's always a tough time to move on forward, and always a tough time to really battle it out. Paul Ellison down in P7, driver that has been rather consistent, has had his moments here and there, but just managed to climb up 2 places since the start of the race, up into 7th, and just wants to keep ticking those boxes right now. He doesn't want to fall too far behind, and he wants to just try see it through to the very end. It's always one of those moments where if you've seen the green, you got to see the checkered. You're this close to the end of the race. 37 minutes completed of a 40-minute race. These drivers will, by the end of the race, have done an hour worth of driving in these cars under race conditions. Plenty more hours out of racing, out of racing conditions, and then you can just add racing conditions to it. So it's a lot of time behind these wheels that the drivers have been spending trying to get used to these cars. It will only get better, faster, and greater every time. And also with a calendar that is absolutely staggering to look at, keeping us rather busy. I mean, we've got Road America now. next week we head out to Belle out at Detroit. We've got the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. So we're going from a road course, well, a full race course that we're on now, into a street course, back to a racing course. Then we head to an oval, our speedway. There is so much that you can do with these cars, and the drivers are having to really work around it. Fixed setup means that it's very welcoming for anyone that wants to get in behind the wheel, and it's actually just welcomed for drivers to join up with the Asrl, come and join in with the Indy Nxts, be a part of the show, and also get behind some amazing machinery. They look tricky, but to be honest, they're rather simple if you're not pushing way too hard. You've got to try and think about what goes on, as we do see Art giving it everything he can. This will be his final lap of the race, and looking to go for flowers here. 12.8 seconds to Brody Gunter, who at the end of his race, Heat 1 20 minutes, was 16 seconds ahead. So nice little reversal there, but not quite what they want to have, as the fight between Paul Ellison and Joshua looks like he may have made a mistake. Yep, there it is. No rear wing. Talk about going low drag on a car. And that allowed Paul Ellison to snatch a position. So Joshua Rutherford getting it out of shape. Oh, through the left-hander down at the bottom. Unfortunately, hard impact, and that is all she wrote there. Now just trying to limp the car back to the line. It won't be a meatball flag, but it will be a very, very slow drive for Joshua. He might lose out to Corey and also to Brian, and that is not going to be working in his favor. Art, however, a flawless race, making his way up through the order, and what a time. Heat 1 was in the dirt a little bit to try and fight for the lead, ultimately losing a little bit of time to Brody. This time out, though, it's a dominating run, keeping it all together as he rounds the last couple of corners. It's going to be a right-hander, followed by a left-hander, and you gun it down all the way through to the final corner. Late on the brakes, coast it through, long right, feed the power on, use the battery that you can like he does, empties it to zero, and will cross the line as the winner of Heat 2. Our feature race done, dusted, and it goes to Art Karts at the top end of the field.
Indeed, it's a brilliant race. Well done to Art Karts for winning in the Heat 2. Gunter, P2 in this particular race. He's going to be thinking what could have been. And Thomas Cook for the podium. He started in P3. Remember, it's a reverse grid, so he maintained his position. And well done to him, Thomas Cook, for the podium.
A stellar race, and what a time for our drivers going and pushing that little bit harder, and what a race. Nite managing to come across the line in the top 5. It has been an interesting time for him, and oh no, Rutherford landing up the 64 with a drive-through penalty, and that's him in the wall as well. So not only is he going to get penalized for a drive-through for incident points reached, but also looks like he's got a bit of damage to the car as well.
It's an unfortunate end to the race. It really is. I don't even know what to say, to be honest. And he's gone back into the pits.
Thank heavens that the drivers have 4 drop rounds this season. And I think this is going to be one of those drop rounds being utilized for him, unfortunately. Brian Dees comes across and will be more than happy. It's hazelnuts for the driver as he comes across the line.
And that is your race finishes for today. From P9 downwards, they have retired. But Art Karts wins, Brody Gunter in second, Thomas Cook in third place.
Tommy Cook going in, showing off a little bit of rubber for the crowd out there. And what a race it was. An absolutely mental one for our drivers to really find it out. First place gets 20 points. Second place gets 19. Third gets 18 points. And if you finish outside of the top 20, you will receive no points whatsoever. A couple of drivers will be saying it's a drop round. I'm not going to be too worried about it.
I believe there's somebody in the holding room that we can interview. Tommy Cook.
Now let's bring up Tommy Cook to come and have a chat to us. Tommy, do you read us?
Yes, I do. How are you?
Good, and yourself. Tommy, what a race out there. First race of the season, first ever in the NXT here for the American Sim Racing League. How are you feeling after a very, very busy race 1 and race 2?
Busy, I think, is an understatement. I am very tired. Never in a million years. I was the broadcaster for the Road Series here for about, I think, 3 seasons. Never thought I would be here on the podium. Obviously, there were some extenuating circumstances that led for me to have this opportunity, but I sure tried to throw it away there a couple of times, but we made it, just barely.
Well, you qualified in 10th. You finished in 11th in Heat 1, made up the ground, P3 in the final heat, the big one, the 40-minute feature. What was the game plan coming in with pit stops being a big factor for the 40-minute race, knowing that you've only got 65% of the tank, which is 13 gallons in this car to work with?
Truly, and I feel like I'm probably not alone in this, especially for some of the guys that I would normally run around in this field. I think the goal for me, honestly, in the feature was just to make it to the pit stops. I crashed out of both of the races in our recruitment race last week. And obviously, I didn't really get to do a full run in the first race with my P11 crash into the wall. So just the fact that I made it to the pit stop, honestly, that's great data to log for later in this season. But I was just going to try and run the tank out. I got a lap shy of that before I busted the barriers down. So I'd say mission accomplished, maybe with a little question mark afterwards.
Always good to see the end, though. Always when you see the green, you got to see the checkered. Before we let you go, Tommy, anything you would like to say to all the drivers out on the grid with you, to all the teams out on the grid, everyone behind the scenes here at the American Sim Racing League, to all our sponsors as well, and also to your team, the Royal Greenhorn Racing?
Well, thank you very much, and thank you to you guys. I'm excited to go back and watch my blunders live on air here in a little bit. I want to thank the Rutherfords, specifically Corey and Joshua, for everything that they do for this league. I'm so glad to see that there's a decent turnout here tonight. Thanks to all the drivers that came out to support the American Sim Racing League. I love working with Corey and Joshua and all the guys that frequent this series. So thanks to all of them. Thanks to my support network at home, none of whom could make the race here this evening. Yeah, shout out to you guys, and shout out to Purple Haze Autosport as well.
Absolutely wonderful stuff. Tommy Cook capturing a P3 in Heat 2, a P11 in Heat 1, and managing to put some points on the table for the team as well. Jobs, I mean, absolutely great stuff there. But I know one person you want to have a chat to, our race 1 winner and race 2 second place, Brody Gunter.
Brody Gunter, welcome to the interview pen. And quite the eventful race 2, but we'll get there in just a small moment. Qualifying, pole position, Heat 1, race win. Talk me through that. How was it for you at the start of this event?
Yes, it went pretty well. I was lucky to get at least one good lap in on my qualifying to get me in pole, and then in that first race, I kind of just drove it from there. I think Art was the better off the first 2 laps, but I feel like I was better keeping the tires underneath me as the race went on. Just sadly, that invert killed me in the second race.
Yeah, speaking of the second race, you were involved in that lap 1 incident that caused a pile up there. What was going through your mind? You knew probably due to the damage that you had to come into the pits. What was the game plan from there? Just to get as far as you possibly can in terms of positions? And are you happy with the P2?
Yes, so that was pretty much the plan. I mean, it was kind of just the hope of making me recover a little bit. I definitely recovered a lot farther than I thought I was going to be able to. So I'm definitely very pleased with that. I kind of hate it because I finished second place, so I was just 1 away from getting it, although the gap between me and Art was still pretty big, as he obviously had enough pace to run second with me in the first race, so I knew getting him chasing him down was going to be nearly impossible. But like you said, I'll definitely take it. I feel like I gained a lot of spots throughout the race, ran a lot of pace, right? I was able to also jump a couple people to the pit cycle, even with the extra pit stop. So I think overall I'm very pleased. Yeah, just hate that I was in the wrong place at the wrong time in that lap 1 wreck.
Yeah, absolutely. Either way, good results in P1, P2, 4 drop rounds as remembered, 10 rounds in total. It's only round 1 of the season. Round 2, Belle Isle. What do you expect? I mean, I think, what do you expect from yourself for the next round? I mean, I think I know what you want at the end of the day. It's probably a race win, right?
Yes, sir. If I can make it to all the races, I think my plan is obviously the best I can each race. That one, I think with that track, it's going to be a lot of expecting, with the close course situation, obviously being a street course. There's a couple of sections that make it a little bit more open than a lot of street courses, but it's definitely the close course is going to make it where coming from the back to the front, if that is a possibility, it's going to be very difficult for some. And as well, just passing in general in the first and second race is going to be very difficult and very tight. So I think with that, it's probably going to be trying to have track position the entire race and keeping it off the walls at all times, since I know there's a very deadly for these open wheel cars.
Absolutely. And for the final question, what would you like to say to all the people in the virtual grandstands, to the people in the American Sim Racing League, and to Racer Nexus and all our sponsors? What are your final closing words?
Yes, I guess just shout out to Coy at CGI Graphics, as well as putting on this league. Josh, Music Productions, all the admins for also working on this league and helping out with different things to keep it the way it is. Like you said, you guys at Racer Nexus for broadcasting it, as well as my personal page, Ready Gunner Racing. Follow me if you can learn about me, my real racing on the real side.
Okay, thank you very much, Brody Gunter, your second place man in Heat 2, your race winner in Heat 1. Thank you very much for coming to the interview pen.
All right, thank you guys.
Well, Jarvis, we take a look back at Road America. First round of the season, done, dusted. We're looking forward to round 2. Any closing thoughts on your side? And how on earth is this going to work out for our drivers?
It's early days, as you said. It's the first time that American Sim Racing League has run the Indy Nxt, so early growing pains for some. We saw definitely during that race. Heat 2, the first lap pile up is not to be expected. It's to be expected with Formula cars, as most people would expect in sim racing nowadays. But I'm looking forward to see how it grows for round 2 onwards. We've got 10 rounds of this starting from today. Belle Isle is the next one, street course.
It's going to be a mad one. It's going to be an exciting one. And folks, keep an eye on it as we get ready to rock and roll for our next round coming up next week. But folks, massive thank you for joining us here on the Racer Nexus Network. And we're glad to be part of the American Sim Racing League as they battle on for the top. Make sure you hit the subscribe button along with the bell notification icon. Leave a like and let us know what was your favorite part of the race. Big shout out going out to Jarvis Code, managing to be the man behind the buttons and all the cameras, as well as the, well, relaxed voice on the microphone while having the ADHD kid of myself, Stephen Koenig. And we look forward to seeing you next time. And like always, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.